Alright, so what we did in the past, the read button, we already did. Let's just do a quick recap. With read button, we checked if the file was there, whether if not file exists, or you could have done equal to false. And then we assigned the text file, we reset, open for reading, we made Q0, we looped until end of file, and then we read a line, we took out the name, and we split it by where the hash was. Then we deleted everything before the hash. Then we took out the quantity, which was before the hash, converted to an integer, put that in, then deleted that piece, and then just put whatever was left over, converted to a double, put that into price, and we incremented Q. The way that we structured this one, we needed to decrement Q just afterwards, and we closed the file because we're done reading, and then we displayed everything with nice tabs in between and a heading on top. And then we did a sort quantity. So we wanted to sort the arrays according to quantity. So we did our 2 for loops in our if. First for loop starts at 0, goes to Q. If we wanted to say Q minus 1, that would have been perfect. And then our next for loop, we started at I, went to Q. So if we wanted to go I plus 1, that would have been also fine. And then we check the quantities of array I and array J. And if it needed to swap, we swapped quantities, but also the name of the product and also the price. So the trick now was, you need to arrange all 3 arrays. Once you swap one, you have to swap the other 2 as well. And then we did a display again. So that was what we did last time. And then I asked you guys to finish the rest. So price is high to low. Let's see. Let's calculate. Change price, change, read, remove, search, sort name, sort price. All right, let's quickly check. As soon as you see something wrong, please tell me, and then we can fix it. So created some variables, and then we begin. Then we did our first for loop, starting at 0, going to Q plus 1. Hoping that's okay. Then our next for loop, J started at I plus 1, went to Q minus 1 as well. Any issues for anybody so far? So hopefully somebody would have said, hey, sir, Q minus 1 there. I don't know. So, and then you would have been 100% right. The problem with this one, if you do Q minus 1 in your inner loop, you will actually not sort your last value. So the last value will stay wherever it was. So this one needs to be until Q. Your first for loop can go from 0 to Q minus 1. Your second one can start at I plus 1, but it must go to Q. It must go to the last one to compare them. And then we check the prices, which is good. And then we swap the prices. Then we swap the quantities. And then we swapped the names, which is good. A quick check for your swap when you want to check it. Look on your left hand side. I've got stemp and then rname I, rname J. On the right hand side, rname I, rname J, stemp. Okay, see there's no duplicate. I didn't have rname I twice or J or stemp. Same on the right hand side. So it's just a quick way to maybe just check, yeah, we're on the right track or not. So if there's no duplicates, it means most probably it's fine. And then our display, where we displayed, yes. Say again quickly, sorry. All right, so with this, what I meant with that was this part. So if, let's say for this sort here, when I sorted the prices, if you went like this. Sometimes you just type it in quick, and then you type in II. So now I can see there's a temp, and then RI, and now again R price I. Then we know, something went wrong. So that should be J. So, and the same with this side. So you don't maybe have, let's say I had temp here also. So then you see, I've got tempted, and I've got two temps here. Something went off. So it's just on your left hand side, it should be a temp, R price I and R price J. On the right hand side of the equals should be R price I, R price J, and the temp. Doesn't mean it's always right. It just means it's a quick check afterwards to just, yeah, it looks all right. And then obviously if you run it and you see it doesn't work, then just check nicely if the sequence is right, the way that you put it, try to trace it. So we're taking R price I, saving it. So I is technically sort of open. So I can then get the value of J. So now J is sort of open. So then temp can go into J. And now the swap is sorted. And I'm like, okay, we're on the right track. All right. Then for my for loop here at the bottom for the display, I just removed my -1 again. All right. Then that is our sort, and then sort by name alphabetical. So this code you could basically just copy paste from one to the other one. I just want to take my one list so we can have a nice look at them. Right. Okay, created the variables, and then we begin with our first for loop from 0 to q minus 1, which is good. Next for loop for j starts at I plus 1, and it should just go to q. Yes, talk to me. So yes, Control D fixes our indent. Thank you very much. It saves me that effort. All right, so I just removed the -1 there. We're checking the array names. Then if they need to swap, then we swap the names, quick check, then we swap the prices, quick check, and then we swap the quantities, quick check, and then we just display again. And then that should work. Let's quickly just run it to just make sure this is sorted. So we read, we've got that, sort by quantity, sort by prices, sort by names. Perfect. All right. Then the next one, we want to add a product. So let's see, add, I think was output. So main thing with our add would be we must just ask for the value. So it's some input boxes and stuff we need. And I see the display she tried to make nice here. All right, we'll have a look at what's done here. Right, let's have a look. So variable I is created. So then, all right, now we must remember with this one we copied. What's the first thing we need to do here? So no wonder something that you need to add at the bottom of yours. When we add a new product to the arrays, what do yes, we need to increment our Q. So for us, we need to increment Q first, so that Q's position can go to the first open space. And then in array name Q, so the first open space in name, I put the first name. Then in the quantities first open space, we convert it to an integer and we ask the guy for his quantity. Maybe we can just say here, it's the name of the product. This is the quantity. And then this one is the price. So then we ask for the price, convert it to a float so that we can put it into that array. Now we've got them. So what is done here is to just make our display also look nice. Let me just show you what it does. Okay, so we can read that if we add a product. Let's add popcorn 5. That. Okay, so it doesn't do much. Alright, but what this does, so this changes, when we do #9, #9 is for a tab. So this tells me that my array display will have 2 tab counts. The first one is in position 37, and the next one is in 72. So we can actually, if we change this, let's say we make that 80, maybe that's 100. So now what happens, if we play this thing, if I read that and I add a product, and we go back on that and that, you can see now the first tab, this 87 moved it until this spot here, and then 102 is there. So now #9 will automatically jump there. Sometimes you'll see if your names of your stuff is a little bit longer or shorter, then just using #9 is not the same. A longer thing will go too long and a short thing goes too short, and then it's difficult to sort it out. Then you can do it with this. Now this code, you don't need to know for exam purposes. It's a nice to know for your pet though. When you start displaying stuff and some stuff is shorter, other stuff is longer, it's nice to know to just set your #9 to be a little bit further or a little bit closer to just make that work out nicely. So this is nice code. It's a nice to have somewhere. To even in this program, if you print this program, keep this somewhere as a reference. You don't need to learn this, but it is a nice to have to just make sure your tabs are always aligned. So in this case, it didn't actually matter. So these 3 lines didn't make any difference, but nice to have later on. So that we incremented Q, very important, entered the new values into our arrays, and then displayed the values. So that's your key things you need to do with this one. Then these ones, not as important. I'm even going to put it in comments just to show that that's not, it didn't make a difference. If it's there or not, it sort of put it in the default space. All right, let's get it on. All right, our next one, reorder. So with the reorder one, what I asked us to do with this one, I asked us to, it's sort of like you ran out of a product. So let's say with a Coke, we saw the quantity is just 1. We've only got 1 Coke left. So we want to reorder more Cokes. So we want to increase the Coke quantity. So with reorder, what is our first step? Let's think algorithmically. Help me, I need you guys now to talk with me. What's the first thing we need to know? So we want to reorder a product. What do you think? It's a reorder button. So it's sort of like restock. So what do you need to know, do you think, to make this happen? Perfect. Yes. And? Yes, perfect. So the, the product we want to reorder will be a string because it's going to be a product name. And then the quantity we want to add will be an integer. All right, so step 1, we'll ask him. Do our input box. And then let's say reorder. And then we want, this will be the product name. Let's use example Coke. So to find out which one do we want to reorder, and then we can ask him for his quantity. So quantity is an integer, so we need to change our string to an integer, and we again have to ask the guy what do you want to reorder, and then the quantity And let's say we buy another, for default, we say 50. Buying 50 more. Alright, so now I know which product I want to reorder, and I know how much of that item I want to buy. So now, what do I do? Who can help me? Our step one would be to go find out where is this product in the array. So if we know where this one is in the name array, we can just change the quantity of that particular one. If I tell you Coke is the third item, do you agree we can just change the third quantity? Or if you knew Coke was the fifth item, we can just change the fifth quantity. So there's a variety of ways you could have approached this question, but I'm going to do the generic one. So step one, we want to go through the array to go look where this thing is. So that means for loop. So I've got a for loop, so I need my I there. Starting at 0, go to Q, to go through the array. And then I want to look for that particular one. So that means if statement. So if my search item is equal to my array with the names in at position I, then begin. So this will now go through the array looking for that item we said we want to reorder. And now the only thing we need to do, once we find that item, so if the search is equal to that array, so that means position I is the name of the item we're looking for, then it just means our array quantity at position I must then get the value of that quantity the guy typed in. And once we change that, then the only other thing that we would want to do is to just have a nice display again. And that is our reorder button. So if we're just adding this quantity, because we could have, let's say we've got 10 Cokes left, but we know it's too little, so we reorder more Cokes and we get 50 more. What should we change with this line to maybe fix that? Because this one will now just put that the 50 into quantity, but we don't have 50 now. We've actually got 60 Cokes because there was the 10 still left over. So what can I do here to sort of fix that? Because we asked them which item, and then we said how many do you want to add. Then we went to look for that item. Now we found the item. So now I want to just add my new quantity to the quantity I had. So what should happen? So perfect, just the wrong way around. So it will be array quantity I equal to quant I plus that one. Okay, yeah, then you were right. Yes, so we'll just say the quantity must the quantity must become whatever the quantity was plus the new value, and then display it, and then that should work fine. Buttons. This is actually a change button, a normal change. If we go to our previous programs, asking what, you'll see. So I asked for the quantity before, which is maybe not ideal. Maybe you could have put this piece of code, instead of having it there, you could have put it in here. It's just this line then becomes very cluttered for me. Having an input box that we need to convert, and then we need to add it, and then we assign it. it's very cluttered in here. That's why I prefer this route. Obviously, you could have also, maybe another good thing is instead of having that there, we could have placed it here, so that only when we find the product, then we ask for how many. Because just now you ask to change a product that you don't even have, and you say how many you want to buy, and then it doesn't actually do anything with whatever you typed in. So this might be a bit more user-friendly way of doing it. First ask which product, then go look for the product, and once you find that product, how many do you want to add, and then add it to the quantity, and then just display again. All right, then we go to next one. Discontinue a product. So that one, it's a product that we don't want anymore. So you'll see also on the name of the button, I called it remove or delete. So we just want to delete whatever we were doing or whatever we had. So with this one, we can then go and I'm just going to put that in there. Get that shortcut running. All right. So what's happening here is step one. We ask the person. Let's fix this. I'll say. We ask the person, which product do you want to remove? So because discontinue means we're not selling that anymore. So you ask him now which one. So this guy's going to say, as default, we're not selling chips anymore. So then what we do is we for loop to go through the array and we look for that particular one. So this again is our search part. Ask which one, for loop to go through, comparing that one to the arrays and the names. Once we found the one that we want to delete, it means I is the one we want to delete. All right. So then our next step, so after we looked for it, then we start our next for loop at I and going to 1 before the end, which is fine. And now what we want to do is we wanted to move up all the items. So the one where we found the one we want to delete must get the value of the next one. So the only trick, so you'll see this part that we've done here is a normal delete that we've done in all our other array programs. The only change now with link arrays, when you move the name up, you must just also move up the price and the quantity. So price and quantity needs to move up so that when you delete that product, you delete the price and the quantity of that product as well. And then ending our for loop, so we're closing the for loop, and then decrement q should be inside the if, but not in the for. So that's the perfect position for it, so that you decrement it once if the item is found, but not multiple times. And when that is done, we'll just do our display again. And that looks good. All right, then, yes. All right, so our next one we're looking at is our change price. So this one we're also gonna do nice and slow. So change price is very similar to our reorder. The reorder one I've also now done with you. So we're doing the same thing. The only difference is instead of changing the quantity, we're going to change the price. So with our change price, again, same steps. So our step one would be to ask the user which product's price do we want to change. So we want to have a search, which will be a string. So step one is for search. We're going to now ask the guy, input box. This is the change price button. Which product? And then we're going to maybe say, let's stick with Coke. I don't know, it's the easiest one. All right, so now we know which product's price do we want to change. Let me call it change price. So now step 1 is find out which one. Step 2, go look for that item. So now I need my for loop. Because I go for loop, it means I need an I. So start at 0. I go to Q to begin. So now I'm going to go look for that item. All right. So for loop will take me through all the positions. Then I just need my if. So I can say where the search is equal to my array name at position I. Then begin. All right, so this part now is my normal search. Ask them which one, go through the array. Once we find that particular product, now we found it. So now, if I know where that product is, which is in position I want to change the price at position I. So now with this one, we're just going to give it a new price. So we can go our R price at position I. So that price I want to change. So that one must get a new value, which is the input box. So, but because input box is string, I need to change my string to a float. And then I can do my input box. And this is the change price one. And then I want to know what is the new price. And let's have 22 rand. All right, so this is now looking for the product, going through the array. Once we found it, ask the user for the new price, put that into our price I, and that's sorted. So now the only thing we need to do from there is just display everything again. Yes, because remember this one we do want to, because we're giving it a new price. So the question isn't, maybe if I asked like increase profit margin or something, and then we just wanted to add on to the price. But now with this one, we want to change the price. So we're giving it a new value just off the bat. So that's why we're just getting the new value and just giving it to that one. So the old price is just forgotten. All right. All right, then we go to our next one. So change price is sorted. Now we're going to show price. So with this one, it's sort of the same as the show price, as the change price. The only difference is instead of changing the price, I just want to show the price. So the person is going to ask me, how much does a Coke cost? And then we show the price of the Coke. All right, so with this one, let's look at how this search price. Just going to use the code that I got. All right, so what we do, step 1 is so ask the user, which product do you want to know the price of? It's going to maybe say Coke. Then we start initially with our boolean saying the product's not found yet. So then we start our for loop to go through the array. We're looking for that item. So that's our normal search that we always do. Then once, this one's not going to work too nicely. Who can help us a bit with this one? How can we fix this one? So the problem we've got here is once we found the item, we say found is true, which is correct. We found the item. And then when the for loop is done, if found is true, then we're going to show message, search the item we looked for, is found and is, which is all 100% so far. And then we're going to display the other price at I. Otherwise, we're going to say item is not found. Will this work fine? And if not, why not? Yeah, but I is an integer. Okay, so if we put it in the for loop, so the idea with this one was if the item is not found, we want to say the item is not found. So if we move this into the for loop, if you had 10 items, it's going to say 9 times not found, and then the one time you actually get the item, it's going to say it's found. So that would be irritating. So this needs to be outside. So that's perfect. I'm happy with that because we want to show the message only once. So the message should not be in the for loop. The for loop should just be looking for it. My biggest problem is what value will I have after the for loop though? So let's say there was 5 items from 0 to 5 or 0 to 4. Let's say 5 items. So from 0 to 4, what will Q be? What will I be after the for loop? So how a for loop works. Let's say, for argument's sake, Q has got a value of 4. There's 5 items. So it's 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So the for loop will be 0, checking, then it will be 1, then it will be 2, then it will be 3, then it will be 4, and then I actually becomes 5, and then it checks this value and it sees, okay, 5 is more than that. So then it jumps out. So our variable I will actually have a value of 5 at this stage. So now it's going to tell you the item is found at that, and then it wants to display price in position 5, which we don't have. Do you agree? Our items are just from 0 to 4. So this won't find a nice price. Let's just see which error we get. So if I read this, if I show price and we're looking for Coke, then Coke is found and it is 0 rand because it's actually displaying now. That's position 0, that's 1, that's 2. So it's displaying position 3's price, which is nothing. So how can we fix this now? So I am happy working with the found, and I'm happy that it's outside the for loop. So that we can say it's not found and it's found only once. But this part is perfect. It's just this I which is a problem. So what do you think? Who can help me a bit with that? What can I change this I to? Or what can I do? So it should not be I, but what should be there? It could be I though. Well, okay. Break is the easiest way to fix this. So that as soon as you find it, it takes you out of the loop and then displays this. Alternative could have been if you made this a while loop, so that it also just as soon as it's found, it goes out, which would have been a little bit better. Or another alternative could have been if you created another variable here, maybe f, or like wherever you find it. And then in here, you could have said that f must get the value of I. So you sort of get the position, and then you display it at position f. So, but this changes a bit more. So I'm going to stick with my break one. But yes, that's the other option. So one option, put break there, then the loop works, then the program works perfect as it was. Second option would have been just make it a while loop. Then that could have worked. Or third option, create another variable to keep the position. Put that in here so that you can keep the I position of where you found it, and then display the price at that position. And then that would have worked.